Hi there, everybody. This is Dr. V. I'm here to do a Healing Your Inner Child spread for the Divine Masculine for this week, March 4th through 11th. Yes, 11th, yeah. Yes, that's correct. I'm using the Healing Angels Oracle by, I think it's Doreen Virtue, and I'll use any clarifiers. I've got a handful of decks over here on my left. Clarifiers as needed. So a couple more shuffles and then we'll jump right in. I hope you're all having a great week and that you're thriving. That was a terrible shuffle. So I'm sitting here, I don't know why, but I keep having songs in my head and I'm like, every day I'm shuffling. I guess that's what happens when you do tarot readings. Okay. Sorry, I think my jokes are funny. I think I'm hilarious. I should have been a stand-up comedian. Okay. Good shuffle. Go ahead and cut. You can see it right there. And then we're going to jump right in. Okay, how the Divine Masculine's inner child feels currently. Enchantment. Yay. So that's a little progress from last week. So the inner child of the Divine Masculine is feeling a little more enchanted by the world. He's feeling a little more, excited about things, feeling less disillusioned than they were feeling last week. Letting his inner child out to play a little bit more, seeing the inner child is seeing the world again as a more magical place, and I really feel that is definitely connected to his divine feminine. I feel like if you watch the reading that I just did for the union, that there is a sense of him really stepping into like a love energy, and I feel like that love energy is helping his inner child to feel enchanted again. He may never have felt this kind of unconditional love that he gets from his feminine. So going on, what he lacked as a child: serenity, peace. There was not a lot of peace in the Divine Masculine's environment as a child. He experienced a lot of chaos, may have been, just whatever that chaos was, whether it was chaos within his parents' relationships, whatever it was, he just had a lot of chaos and didn't have a lot of peace. And so he probably became a very anxious child, very insecure, very, not just those experiences. When you don't have a lot of peace, you don't have a great sense of grounding in the world, about who you are in the world. And so he lacked a lot of serenity as a child, just tons of chaos. The energy that I'm feeling is just so much chaos. Whether it was a lot of moving around or a lot of things like that, abuse, or if it was just internal emotion, not just, because that's, just as significant, but internal emotional chaos because of his environment. That's what he lacked. Something that left his inner child scarred. Okay, this is emerging. And this is, if you look at the card, it's sort of like an adolescence. So what I'm getting from that is that as the masculine was becoming a young adult, as he was emerging into his adolescent stages, that there were some things that happened, things that were said, things that were done that caused him some deep-seated insecurities and some pain. So it could have come from, somebody just telling him that he wasn't good enough, or they didn't have what it takes, or feeling rejected, or feeling, something along those lines, of feeling just inadequate is what the feeling that I'm getting. Is just this deep sense of inadequacy that he experienced in his, I'm getting sort of in maybe 10, the what we would call the tween years right now. But it was between 10, 11, 12, where he was starting to, coming into himself and starting to become a young man, and then or a young woman, because the masculine can be masculine or feminine. So I'm talking in terms of him, but please, read the energies as is appropriate for you. But he experienced some things that left him scarred, that really rooted in him some deep-seated insecurities, some deep-seated feelings of inadequacy, because something happened. It could have been a series of some things, but I get that it was there was at least one significant scarring event that happened that has caused him to question his value and his worth in the world as a person, as a person, but really on a deep core level as as a man who is worthy. So how this is affecting his life now. This came up, I think, last week too. It's blocking him from being able to receive new love because of this, this scarring that happened as he was emerging into young adulthood, that made him feel inadequate. It made him feel small, made him feel like he didn't have what it takes. It's blocking him from receiving new love because he doesn't feel like he's worthy. He doesn't feel like he has what it takes. So it's like he's looking at his divine feminine and he's like, oh my God, this woman is amazing. Like, she's everything I always wanted. Like, if I could have, carved a woman out of stone and breathed life into her, this is who she would be. She's everything I always, wanted. And there's no way that she would want someone like me because I am fundamentally deeply flawed. That's what's going on with him. And that's how it's impacting his life right now. So something the masculine can do to heal his inner child. I swear this came up last week too. This is so intense. So the synchronicity is amazing. New beginnings. He has to let go. That's what he has to do to heal that. Is he has to let himself have a new beginning. He has to let himself be brave enough to feel that new love, to walk away from the past. So what I'm really getting right now is that he had this, because of this deep wounding, he's made choices that are based out of that sense of inadequacy, right? So if you don't feel good enough, you're going to choose partners or careers or, whatever that are beneath you because you don't feel good enough. When in fact, it's like you're the king and you should be running the castle instead of standing outside the gate begging for scraps. And that's sort of what he's been doing, is begging for scraps. When all along he is, worthy of running the kingdom, but he doesn't know that. He doesn't believe it yet. He has to let himself have that new beginning so that he can heal his inner child as he lets himself be, deeply loved, and to let go of the shit from the past that is no longer serving him. It's going to help heal his inner child. It's going to help his inner child feel safe and feel validated and not feel inadequate anymore. So next card, how the divine masculine can support his inner child. Study. So what this is to me is about not like studying, textbooks. I read this as really inner study, like going within, looking at all of these patterns and the things that he has, engaged in that have not been healthy, really learning himself and understanding his patterns. So, one of the things that I always suggest when I'm coaching people is to make a list. So it's like if you've had, 5 significant relationships in your adult life, write their names down. So it'd be like Bob, Paul, Chad, Steve, and John. And you write down characteristics about them that are similar. What are similar characteristics? You're like, okay, well, they were all emotionally unavailable. They were all... they all mocked me. They all made fun of me. They all, whatever those things are, write them down and examine the patterns, because there are patterns. We all have relationship patterns, like no matter who we are. So evaluate those patterns and then go back to where you learned that from. So if it's like you have a tendency of attracting people who are physically or emotionally unavailable, well, look at where that pattern came from. It may be that you had an emotionally unavailable parent in your household, and that's where, and you learned that love was ambivalent and inconsistent, and that's what feels right to you now because that's what you learned as a youth. And so that's what this means. Really study your patterns, study yourself, know yourself and own your shit so that you can move on. Okay. And the last card is a message from the masculine's inner child. Trust. Okay, so what I get from this card really is trust yourself, trust life, trust in the goodness of the universe, and that you're worthy of love, and trust the love that you're getting from your divine counterpart. Trust that it's real. I get this sense that the divine masculine is really in this space of like, this isn't real, like she can't possibly love me like this, and kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. But his inner child is saying, trust this because it's so beautiful and so powerful, and it can really heal all of these old wounds if you would just let it. So, so that's the energy of the inner child for this week for the divine masculine. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you found it useful. And if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. And I will see you back here next week with another one.